I remember I used to really hate getting at the end of a chapter or of a whole book, closing it up and asking myself, well, what do I remember from this? What did I just learn? I thought about it and realized that I could simply pretty much not remember anything. Now, that was a big problem of mine until I actually started realizing how my memory works, how my mind worked, and until I actually started, implementing a few simple steps that got me to now pretty much remember everything of what I learned. I'm going to share with you in this video 3 simple steps that I literally use every single time now I read a book, and that got me to, remember what I learned, but also implement it, because chances are that you, just like me, are reading mostly self-development books that you want to change you, that you're reading to improve your life. And for those kind of books, it's really important that you don't just read, but you actually implement. And I'm going to, as said, share with you in this video how to get, at the end of your next book, remembering pretty much everything you've just read, and also having implemented things so that that book actually changed you. Now, the first thing we need to understand is how our memory actually works. Now, it's actually quite complex, but if we wanted to, make it as simple as possible, it's just about 2 main parts of your brain, the hippocampus and the neocortex. Now, during the day, when we read something, when we learn something, when we experience something, everything is going to be stored in the hippocampus. It's kind of like the RAM of your computer, your short-term memory, the memory that is used to remember what you've just, learned throughout the day. Now, during the night, while you sleep, in, the deeper states of sleep, that memory is going to be stored in the neocortex, and that's where your long-term memories are actually stored. Now, the important thing to realize is that, first of all, your hippocampus just has a limited amount of space and amount of things you can remember of the day. So you cannot remember everything from the day, and you cannot memorize an infinite amount of information. You can just remember a specific amount of information. And the other very important thing is that you can only, transfer another, limited amount to your neocortex. That depends from the quality of your sleep, from how, fast your mind is, and many other things like that. But mainly, what we need to realize is that our mind is prioritizing information. It has to decide which information are actually going to be stored, first of all, in the hippocampus, and then are actually going to be brought to the neocortex. Now, how does the mind actually, realize, okay, this is an important information we have to remember? It's very simple. First of all, if that information is tied to a lot of emotions, it's going to be seen as important, especially negative emotions, but also positive ones. That information is an information that your mind thinks to itself, now I want to really remember this, because if it's tied to a lot of emotions, it's probably important, right? And so it's going to be transferred to the neocortex, and you're going to remember about it. The second, also very important part, is if it's very connected. Now, a memory can be very connected if you truly understand it and you connect it with many different other things you already know. You have to realize that a memory is kind of like a city. There are small towns that just have a few roads that bring to them, and it's going to be hard to find those towns because, as said, there are just a few roads to get them. Now, the big cities, the memories that are connected with many other ones, those are the cities that are easiest to recall because they have so many streets that bring to them, right? There is a saying in Italy that says, all the streets bring to Rome. And so if you want to really remember a memory, you want to connect it with as many things as possible. Action is a very important thing, but really understanding that concept will make it so much easier to remember, so much easier, bro. And as said, connecting it to emotions. Now, these 3 things are very crucial, and I'm going to basically, recall them over and over again while I'm going to share with you the 3 steps you need to take in order to remember everything you read. And obviously also to make the books that you're reading actually change your life and yourself. Now, step number one is the reading part. When I read a book, I first of all want to put myself in an environment that has no distractions. When you read something, you want to be 100% concentrated on it. Because think about it, if you're telling your mind, this is very important, I'm giving it all my attention, it's way more probable that it will store it, in your long-term memory. And so giving what you're reading your whole attention is very crucial. It's telling your brain, this is important. Now, the second thing I do is only reading books I actually need, I want to read, and I'm curious about, right? I never read books just that, someone told me, you should read that book, but I have no real reason for reading it. I only read books that I want to read. And that is very important because you are going to give it more attention, more concentration, and it is tied with some emotions. As said, the more you can tie what you're reading, the new information, with emotion, action, or other concepts, the more you will remember about it. So reading books that you really want to read, that you need to read, that you're curious about, really spikes like crazy, bro, how much you will remember about it. Because you will be active, you will be learning, you will want to discover the new things, you will want to read about that new other thing and understand it. So it doesn't matter what you read, make sure you're really interested about it. Now, the third thing I do while I'm reading is actually, as you can see here, take notes, underline things, and basically make sure I am active while I'm reading. Now, it's very simple. I have three main things I do when I read. I do some lines next to an important information. If it's just one line, it means kind of important. 2 lines, it's important. 3 lines, crucial. Really want to remember this. And this really helps me for the step number 2. I will get to that in just a minute. Now, another thing I do is doing a sort of, sign, like, as you can see here, this means this is important. I want to use this. Now, as said, the 3 lines, or the lines are for important information I want to remember. And the exclamation sign is to tell me when I will be summarizing, what I have just read in the second step, that I want to implement these things. So I basically have 2 signs, one for important information and the other one for useful, like practical information that I can implement. And the third thing I do is basically taking notes. While I'm reading, if I have a thought that comes in my mind, if I have another way to phrase it, if there is something I didn't understand, a question I have, whatever, I'm trying to find them out. Here, for example, I wrote some notes on top here. I write it down. That really makes you more active. And the more you act on a new information, the more you will remember it. Now, that is for the reading part. As said, make sure you only read what you're interested in. That brings, the emotional part, because you're invested, you want to learn it. Second thing, make sure you're 100% concentrated and are in an environment with no distractions. Third thing, while you're reading, try to be active. I underline the things I think are important, I will use, and thirdly, I actually make notes. The more active, concentrated, emotionally invested you are, the better. Step number 2, I actually ended up a chapter, right? I got to the end of a chapter. What do I do next? I personally do 2 things. At the end of each chapter and then at the end of the book, I summarize all the most important key points and most important implementable steps. That helps me for the second step and for the third one, and we will get to that in just a minute. Now, the second step is just summarizing. As said, the more you connect your new knowledge and repeat it and take action on it, the more you will remember it. That's why I actually summarize what I read. On one side, because that really helps me to remember, and on the other side, because when I will actually need, to get back to that book, because I have, a problem where I thought to myself a few months afterwards, bro, I just read about it in that book. How do I solve it? Instead of being there, having to read through the book again, I have my summary and I just go there and in 2 minutes I found the answer. So that's why I really like summaries. So you make sure you write down the most important things and the things you can actually implement, so that you actually get to step number 3, which is taking action. That's probably the most crucial thing you can do. I cannot tell you how important it is to take action on your new knowledge. The more you take action, the more you implement in your life, the more you will remember. And I can just tell you that I can literally remember so many lessons from different books I've read, mainly because I took action on it. You want an example, right? You want an example. I remember I was in Spain. I was at the beach. I was reading Marcus Aurelius, his meditations. There was a group of cute girls just next to me. And I was there, you know, playing cool, reading my book, doing as if I didn't care. When in reality, I was thinking all the time about what I could just say or how I could just go over and talk to them. Now, I was reading through the book, and then Marcus just drops me a banger gem. Remember that sentence so vividly because it was so tied to emotions and actions. The sentence goes as follows: "What a peace that comes when you stop caring about what other people think, say, or do, and only focus on what you do." I remember so well when I first read that sentence, I knew what had to be done. I closed the book and just go over to talk with them. Now, this is just one of the probably 10,000 examples where implementing what I had just read made me recall it, you know, years afterwards. I literally remember whole books just because I took action on them. And that's why I now do it all the time. So in step number 2, you made a summary of the most important implementable steps and most important concepts. In step number 3, you want to take action as much as you can. Now, I personally do this in 3 ways. First of all, if I'm reading something and I immediately have a thing I can act on, straight on, right? For example, in this book, The 4-Hour Workweek, at the end of each chapter, you know, you have some implementable steps, how to exit your comfort zone. If I can implement that straight away, I literally close the book and go and do it. That's probably the most powerful way to remember what you read. Now, the second way I implement the 3rd step is by, at the end of each chapter, asking myself what I can already implement. If it's something I can do straight away, or if it's better that I finish the book and then I implement it. Ideally, you take action after each chapter, you have the implementable steps, you have your little summary, and you start taking action. That's really important. And then what I also do is when I finish the book, I basically make myself a little summary, as you can see, of the implementable steps, and I just go through it and I take action. That's how to actually remember everything you read, bro. If you actually make sure that when you read, you're fully concentrated, have a good reason, you underline, you're active, and then you make little summaries, you really try to understand what you've just read. You know, try to write down the concepts in your own words. You know, make a summary of the implementable steps and the most important points in your own words. That's very important. Make sure that you really understood them. And then in step 3, you actually start taking action. You do those hard things straight away if you have the possibility while you're reading the book. If it's something that takes a little bit more time, just finish the chapter and do it straight away, or just finish the whole book and then take action. It's really important that you tie all of your new knowledge with emotions, with actions, and with other concepts. That's how your brain knows that it has to remember it, because it's an important thing. And that's how I personally now remember pretty much everything I read in books. Now, I really hope this video helped you out. And if you have some other questions or some other struggles with reading, with remembering, with productivity, or whatever other thing, you can book a totally free coaching call with me personally. The link is in the description down below. Just another way for me to help you out. Now, as said, really hope this video helped you out, and I'm sure that if you actually start using this 3-step process, you are going to remember so much more, bro. And the next time you're going to be there, finish the book, you're going to be like, wow, I remember pretty much everything. And not only, this book actually changed my life. I didn't just read it for the sake of reading, because that's just mental masturbation. To be really honest, I did it in the past, many people do it. We read, to feel productive, that we're reading some important, powerful books. But then if we actually don't really implement, it's going to stay in that book, bro. The knowledge won't get into practice and it won't have changed your life in any way. So that's how to remember and actually implement what you're reading. Really hope this video helped you out, and I really thank you a lot for your time and your attention. If you liked it, bro, make sure to leave a like and to subscribe to not miss on my future videos and to actually show me that you liked the video. As said, thank you again that you came to this point of the video. I really wish you an amazing day and hope that you're actually going to remember what you read next time. See you very soon, hopefully. Ciao.